Okay, I think we are ready to start. Marino? Good. Okay. Kalimera. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar on the RIF's innovation programs. We received a lot of requests from you for a webinar in English, so here we are today trying to resolve any queries you may have and present the programs to you in English. We're quite near the deadline at the moment, so less than a month for one of the deadlines. So this session is your opportunity really to, find out more about the programs and hopefully get a better idea of what we expect from you in the proposals to be submitted. So just a little housekeeping before we start. So if you have any questions, please post them through the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. And of course, the slides and the recording will be available after the end of the webinar. So without further ado, we will start with a presentation of the programs, which will be delivered by my colleague, Marinos Portokalidis, who is here with us today. So Marino, we start with the presentation.
Thank you, Litsa, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. This is the fourth webinar regarding the new calls for proposals for the RIF's innovation programs. As Litsa mentioned, we had received a lot of requests to proceed with the organization of a webinar in English, since we had a lot of people interested in these programs that were not Greek speaking. So without any further ado, I will proceed to the presentation. It's a short presentation for the conditions for participation and the eligible activities and costs, and some other useful information regarding the submission and evaluation of proposals. I will proceed with the presentation, and then we will respond to inquiries and questions, as Litsa mentioned. So this new calls for proposals that were announced in December 2021 cover three different programs, two funding schemes for startups and one funding scheme for existing companies. The first two programs, as I mentioned, are addressed to innovative startups. The first one is the pre-seed program, which aims at the creation and initial development of innovative startups which aim to develop new innovative products and services that have the prospect to penetrate the international market. And in the frame of this program, we are supporting startups that are still in the idea phase, and their product and service is not yet fully developed. On the contrary, the second program, the seed program, addresses companies that may have already been active for a short period of time, but their product or service has not entered the market yet. And the innovative idea falls within a high technological readiness level. While in the pre-seed program, we covered companies that are still in the idea phase. In this program, we support enterprises, startup enterprises that have a mature technology close to a prototype. The third program addresses existing enterprises. These are enterprises that are already engaged in commercial activity, meaning that they already have marketable products or services. They have sales and turnover, but these companies aim to invest in R&D and innovation to develop new competitive, innovative products or services that have, again, prospects to enter the international market. Through this program especially, we aim to attract additional private investment to support the rapid development of the companies. And as in the seed program, the projects to be supported should fall within a high technology readiness level, where the idea has already been validated in laboratory condition and is at least being demonstrated in a relevant environment. That means that we are supporting, again, mature ideas that are close to the prototype. So as mentioned, the calls were announced in December 2021, and the deadlines are in February. Specifically, the deadline for pre-seed is on the 14th of February at 1 o'clock local time. For seed is the 18th of February. And for the Innovate program is the 22nd of February. The timeline for the evaluation is between February and July. And we will describe in later the evaluation procedure. So the evaluation consists of two stages, and the second stage is expected to be completed around July 2022, and we aim to complete the contract negotiation phase and sign the contracts with the beneficiaries around December 2022 at the latest. So the budget is 13 million euros, 1 million euros for the pre-seed program, 6 million euros for the seed, and 6 million euros for the Innovate program. The maximum funding per project is 100,000 euros for the pre-seed program, 500,000 euros for the seed, and 1 million euros for the Innovate program. This is the maximum amount, but participants may request funding according to their needs. So you don't have to request the full amount, but according to your needs, you should you should adjust your budget according to your specific needs. So the project duration is 18 months for the pre-seed call and up to 24 months for the seed and Innovate calls. Again, the duration is according to the project specificities and needs, and this 18 and 24 months respectively are the maximum duration, project duration. The foundation does not fund the full amount of budget, but there is a specific funding percentage on eligible expenses. And for pre-seed and seed, this amount is 85%. And for the Innovate program, the maximum funding percentage for the project is 50%. So regarding beneficiaries, for the pre-seed and seed program, we support startup companies. According to the state aid regulations, these startup companies should be small enterprises not listed in the stock exchange and up to 5 years after their registration. And these companies have not taken over the activity of another enterprise, have still not distributed profits, and have not been incorporated through a merger. These are the conditions to be eligible as a startup company to participate in these programs. There is an exception for pre-seed call, where the proposal can be submitted by a group of persons. However, the registration of the company should be completed by the contract signing date. In these programs, partner organizations may participate, such as research organizations, other enterprises, or other private organizations like NGOs, associations, and so on. And these organizations may participate to support the company in experimental development activities and have a minor role in the program. The participation of foreign research organizations is not allowed for pre-seed and seed programs. For the Innovate program, the host organization could be a small, a medium, or a large enterprise. As mentioned, only enterprises that are already engaged in commercial activities with products and services in the market, and with sales, and with a record for sales and turnover, may participate in this program. And newly established spin-out enterprises undertaking part of activities of existing companies may participate as well under specific conditions. So these corporate spin-offs are enterprises that after restructuring of our ongoing enterprises in Cyprus or in abroad are established in order to undertake part of the mother existing company. These newly established companies transfer the existing companies transfer knowledge, staff, or other assets in this newly established company. Again, partner organizations from Cyprus may participate, such as research organizations, enterprises, and other private organizations, to support the host organization in experimental development activities relating to the prototype development. And the participation of foreign research organizations is also allowed. So some additional conditions for participation. In the frame of these codes, an enterprise may receive funding as host organization only in one project. So an enterprise may submit more than one proposals in one call. However, only one project can be funded. And an enterprise cannot be at the same time host organization of a project in more than one of the innovation programs. This applies to the calls announced in December 21 only. For companies that have participated as host organizations and have been funded by the RIF in the frame of previous calls for proposals, there are some specific conditions for participation. For example, if a company has been funded in the pre-seed call, in the pre-seed program in a previous call, may move forward and submit a new proposal in the seed or innovate program. It is not allowed for this company to submit a new proposal for the pre-seed. A company that has been funded under seed program may move forward and submit another proposal in the innovate call. So all these conditions are clearly described in the call for proposals documents. In the next slides, we will go through the eligible activities and costs for the 3 programs. Eligible activities and costs for the pre-seed and seed programs addressing startups are similar, so we're going to see them together. And regarding the Innovate program, the budget and the conditions are more complicated. We'll go through in more detail in the next slides. So for pre-seed and seed, the programs that cover startup companies, eligible activities are indicatively the following: prototype development, market research, business plan development for pre-seed and business plan validation for seed, identification of the appropriate business model, promotional activities for the new product or service, consulting, legal, or accounting services. I will explain these kind of services in the following slides. and identification or seeking of partners and investors. These activities are indicative and may be completed with other relevant activities as well. So what are the eligible costs related to these activities? For the host organization, we cover personnel costs. For regarding instruments and equipment, we cover full cost, and this category refers to the purchase cost for instruments and specialized equipment, as well as computers and software, including standard office computer and software. Under this category, for instruments and equipment, we do not cover office equipment or buildings. We also cover external services up to 50% of the total project budget. Costs for traveling abroad, mainly for promotional activities. Consumables regarding the related to the prototype development, and as well as other specific costs that are related to the product but cannot be included in the above categories. We also cover overhead costs, which are indirect costs related to the activities of the project, such as electricity, auditing, renting of office, and so on. And we do not request any proofs regarding this cost, but it's a flat rate of 20% over the product direct cost. In the previous calls, we received a lot of questions and inquiries regarding the clarifications about the activities that could be covered under the technical services, under the external services category. So in the calls for proposals, we have provided interested parties with a menu of indicative services to be acquired under this specific cost category. So these external services could be services regarding the development of a market research, could be technical consulting services relating to the prototype development, such as testing and certification, quality labeling, access to infrastructures, databases, and so on. Could be innovation advisory services in the fields relating to the use of standards and regulations, purchase of patents or licensing patent rights for external sources, website development, logo, accounting services relating to payroll and tax issues, bookkeeping and office automation, and legal services related to the registration of the business name, the logo of the company, trademarks, in issues like the shareholders capital structure, including stock options plans, and other services related to mergers and acquisition, bank transactions, GDPR issues, employment conditions, and so on. These are, we would consider that these kind of services are crucial to the development of a new company, a new startup company. That is why we consider them eligible under this calls for proposals. I should mention that, again, these services are indicative and could be completed with other relevant services as well. As mentioned before, partner organizations may participate supporting the host organization, the company, in the experimental development activities. For these partner organizations, we cover personnel costs, costs for instruments and equipment. For these participants, we cover only depreciation costs for this category and not full cost. Cost for external services, traveling, consumables, and overheads. There is a limitation regarding the participation of partner organizations, and their budget should not, their costs and their budget should not exceed 30% of the total project budget. For existing companies and in the Innovate program, as mentioned, we have the eligible activities and expenses are more complicated, and we have different kind of activities, which I will explain in the following slides. So under the Innovate program, we cover experimental development activities, which refer to the development of the prototype, this demonstration, pilot testing, and validation of the products and services. We also cover a feasibility study, which is a technical study for the innovative business idea, and including the investigation of its commercial potential. In order to promote the new product and service, we cover the participation of the companies in fairs and exhibitions with a private stand to promote, as mentioned, their product and service. We also cover innovation activities, which are innovation advisory services in the fields relating to the use of standards and regulations, and innovation support services relating to testing and certification, access to infrastructure, database, and so on, market research and quality labeling. And finally, we cover promotional activities and other related activities, marketing, branding activities for the new products and services, such as publications, ads, audiovisual material, graphics, and so on. So for the experimental development activities, we cover the following expenses, the following costs. So it's personnel cost relating to the effort that participants spent into this kind of experimental development activities. We cover costs for instruments and equipment. For these activities, we will cover only depreciation for this category. We cover the cost for foreign research organizations that from abroad, that are research organizations from abroad that are included in the consortium, but are not considered as full partners. There is a limitation for this organization up to 15% of the requested funding of the experimental development. We cover costs for traveling abroad for the experimental activities. Cost for external services. This goes up to 10% of the experimental development budget and up to 40% of each of the budget of each partner. Consumables relating to the experimental development activities. Other specific costs not included in the above categories. And again, overheads up to 20% of the direct cost for experimental development activities. As in the previous programs, the total cost for the partner organizations should not exceed 30% of the total project budget of the experimental development activities. Regarding the feasibility studies, we cover personnel cost of the organization, of the host organization, and overheads. For innovation, we cover the cost for innovation advisory and support services explained above. In the case of large enterprises, these expenses fall under the de minimis regulation, the de minimis funding regulation, as it is not covered under the state aid rules. These kind of activities, innovation activities and participation in fairs, are only eligible for SMEs. So in the case of large enterprises, these should be covered under the de minimis regulation. Regarding the participation in fairs, we cover the cost for renting and setting up the stand, registration costs to the exhibition, transportation of materials and relevant insurance costs, and traveling of the personnel to attend in the exhibition. As mentioned, there are certain activities that are not covered by the state aid regulation, and therefore participants may use this de minimis regulation in order to cover this kind of activities. So for activities that do not fall within the categories of experimental development, innovation, participation in fairs and feasibility study, these activities are mainly promotional activities, marketing, branding activities. We cover personnel costs. We cover the full cost for instruments and equipment, including the industrial production equipment. We cover the cost for external services, cost for traveling abroad for promotional activities and for attracting foreign investors, and other costs that are real costs for promotional and marketing activities. As you have observed, there are some limitations in the above eligible expenses categories. You don't have to worry about this kind of limitation, because when you prepare your proposal in the electronic portal, the system proceeds with the appropriate checks when you validate the proposal, and you will receive an error message if you in the case that you have exceeded some of the specific limitations. So you won't be able to submit a proposal unless you fall within these limitations. Regarding the new calls for proposals, there are some new elements. We'll compare them with the previous calls. In these new calls, for the cost category personnel costs, for simplicity purposes, all organizations which have not previously participated in the Restart programs are obliged to make use of the simplified cost option standard scales of unit cost in order to calculate the personnel cost. In the updated work program document, η προκήρυξη στα ελληνικά for Greek speaking, which is uploaded in the IRIS portal, you may find a table with the appropriate rates for each personnel category. So there is a specific unit rate, hourly unit rate for each kind of personnel relating to the experience and the academic qualifications of each person. These new projects falling within the new calls for proposals should comply with the do no significant harm principle of the European Commission, according to which they must not include or support any activities that could cause significant harm to the environment. For all those of you that are familiar with the previous calls, some activities relating to the protection and management of IPR are not eligible under these calls. Because beneficiaries that will be selected and will be funded in the frame of the present calls, we will be eligible to benefit through a fast-track procedure from innovation and technology transfer support services that will be offered by the Research and Innovation Foundation through the Innovation Factory Initiative and the Central Knowledge Transfer Office that will be established in the forthcoming months in the foundation. So costs that were funded in the previous calls, and more specifically innovation costs, such as the acquisition, validation, and protection of patents, and other intangible assets, or consulting services for issues related to technology transfer, including services, external services for feasibility study and business plan, as well as the secondment of highly qualified personnel from research and knowledge dissemination organizations will not be eligible in the frame of these calls, since we will be offered free by the Innovation Factory initiative and the Knowledge Transfer Office, and other supporting funding tools under these initiatives. In the previous calls, the acquisition of coaching mentoring services from specialized experts was mandatory, but in these calls, since we will offer this kind of services by the initiatives mentioned, this activity is not mandatory. You may, according to your needs, proceed to the acquisition of specific technical or coaching services. However, this is not mandatory. So proposals are submitted through the RIF IRIS portal electronically. Each organization and the coordinator should register in advance in the portal. And the proposal consists of three main parts. Is the part A that contains general information and budget, and is submitted electronically, as I mentioned, in form fields through the portal. The main part of the proposal is the technical annex, the part B. This is completed in a Word document, in a Microsoft Word document that is uploaded in IRIS, and should be uploaded together with the part A in a PDF format. The maximum number of pages, excluding the cover page for pre-seed, is 20 pages, and 25 pages for seed and innovate. Since it is for this kind of programs, it is very important for evaluators to assess the quality of the team and whether the team maintains the appropriate capacity. The submission of the team's CVs is again mandatory, and the CV should be uploaded again in the together with the part A in PDF format. As I mentioned before, for the selection procedure of the projects to be funded, we follow two stages. At the first stage, we follow a remote evaluation carried out by two independent evaluators specializing in the project proposal topic. We select these evaluators from a database, a large database containing more than 3,000 experts from abroad. And these are experts that are also being used by the Commission for the evaluation of the European programs for research and innovation. After the first stage, those proposals that have secured a final evaluation score at least 12 out of 15 qualify to the stage 2 of the evaluation, and the best rank application, more specifically the best rank applications according to their evaluation score, ranked with the highest scoring proposal and in descending order, and requesting an aggregated financial support equal to the double of the available call budget, will proceed to the second stage. The second stage is carried out by an independent evaluation committee with in which the foreign experts with business background are included. The project team should proceed with the presentation of the project to the independent evaluation committee. It's like a pitch. So it's a short pitch, and the committee can discuss with the team about the project, may address questions to the team, and as mentioned, it is very important to demonstrate the capacity and the capabilities of the team to implement the project, as well as the potential of the project to penetrate the international market. Sorry for the content of the presentation of the slides. There are some leftovers from the presentation in Greek, so we will correct the presentation before we upload in our website. So regarding the evaluation criteria, there are three main evaluation criteria: excellence of the innovative idea, which is weighs to 30%, added value and benefit with a weight of 35%, and the product implementation with a weight of 35%. There is a detailed description of the criteria in the relevant call for proposals documents. So all the proposals that have been deemed eligible for funding by the committee will be selected for funding, and the total funding of approved projects will not exceed the total call budget. Project participants have the right to submit redress regarding their evaluation only in the stage 1. So where you can find the relevant information. First of all relevant conditions and general regulations are included, as well as the descriptions of the programs are included in the Restart Work Program document, which is uploaded is available in the IRIS portal. It is very crucial to study thoroughly the calls for proposals and the relevant guide for evaluators. And of course, you should have access to the Part B, the technical annex of the proposal, which, as I mentioned, is the main part of the proposal, should be completed and uploaded together with the Part A. Again, you can find these documents in the relevant section of the IRIS portal. Regarding the registration of the coordinators and the organization, you may find relevant guidelines in the relevant section of the IRIS portal. For other inquiries, questions, and other information and support, you may contact the RIF support service at the email address that you see in the slide, and the central telephone line of the RIF. And we are at your disposal at any time to submit to specific questions or inquiries regarding your participation. So thank you very much, and we will proceed to the questions.
Thank you very much, Marino, for your presentation. I love that you came prepared. Where you can tell that a lot of people have, prepared their questions in advance and, are posting them on the Q&A. So what we will do is we will go through them one by one and try to respond to all of them. Just a kind reminder, please try to keep them short and to the point, because it also makes it easier for us to give you the right response. So, Marino, you ready to start?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a question about the minimis regulation.
Okay, so let's take them. So, are these programs considered de minimis?
No, only the specific cost categories covered under Innovate. So regarding the pre-seed and seed, it's covered under the state aid regulation for startups. there is an article regarding the funding startups. And for the Innovate program, as I mentioned, activities relating to the experimental development, participation in fairs, feasibility study, and innovation, these are covered by the state aid regulation. And de minimis are only activities that relate to the promotion or marketing branding of the new products and services that are not covered by the, or the acquisition of industrial production equipment. And these kind of activities are not covered by the state aid regulation. That's why we are using this regulation to allow participants to cover this cost, or this additional cost.
Are the programs considered double funding? What happens if we are successful in two programs? So one about new entrepreneurship, I'm guessing from another
double
ministry.
Funding in general is forbidden. So
Okay.
you cannot fund the same activity from different resources, either local, national, or European.
And then there's a follow-up question. Can we amend eligible expenses post-submission so they are not the same in the two programs?
Can you repeat, Litsa? Or maybe...
Yes, so the first part of the question is about double funding, and then it says, can we amend eligible expenses after the submission so they are not the same? So say they submit two different proposals, one for the RIF innovation programs and one for another.
The contract preparation phase, the project may be, amended at some extent, but you have to discuss it then with the project officer.
But the bottom line is no double funding. So you could never receive support from us, financial support from the RIF, and at the same time have another project running with one of the ministries or another organization with regards to the same activities. The entity I am applying with is a new entity, but already has some revenue from activities related to the project, but not arising from the actual project. Is this a problem? Let's read that again. Okay. The entity I am applying with is a new entity.
Okay.
But already has some revenue from activities relating to the project, but not basically a result of the actual project. Is this a problem?
Okay,
I'm guessing this is for pre-seed. I think they're referring to pre-seed. Yeah, so that's the.
The concept of startup entrepreneurship is that you build a company around a new innovative idea. So in the case of the pre-seed, we fund the initial stages of the company, and the innovative idea is still at the idea phase. So we do not expect that these companies are already engaged in some kind of commercial activities. So okay. I'm not sure if I respond to your question, but
I think we are. There's a follow-up. What if a new company is created along the way that will specifically undertake the project? Is there a problem that the initial application was through a different company name?
Yes, you cannot submit the project with another organization and then during the negotiation phase to change to another organization. But you can submit a proposal as under the status of under establishment. So as mentioned in the case of pre-seed, natural person may submit a proposal, and the registration of the company should be completed by the contract signing.
Okay. And is it a prerequisite for key personnel listed to be on the company payroll at the time of submission?
No, you have to describe the team, the main team, in order to demonstrate their capabilities. And you have to submit their CVs for evaluation purposes, but they do not have to be already on the company's payroll at the time of submission.
Okay, here, because there were a lot of questions, I mean, if it's something very specific, the best thing for you to do is submit a question through support@research.org.cy. So there are cases when perhaps we need to discuss a bit more to find out more information with regards to your question so that we're able to give you a response. So I think the responses that we're giving are quite general. So if you want a specific answer to your question, then ideally the way to do it would be to go through the support team. Okay, so concerning the seed program, is it possible to apply for seed while already running a pre-seed project? Can it be done with the same coordinator?
It can be done. As mentioned, we want our companies to move forward towards the market. So in the case of companies that have been funding under the pre-seed call in the previous round, may apply for a seed program. And I see there are some other questions as well. The depth of the market analysis depends on the needs of each organization, and the aid intensity for the academic partner is up to 85%.
Okay. Can organizations from other EU member states participate in the Innovate call, or is it meant for Cyprus-based organizations only?
In general, our programs are addressed to participants that engage in activity in areas controlled by the Republic of Cyprus. In the case of foreign partners, may participate if they are research organizations, may participate as foreign research organizations under the Innovate program, or they can participate as subcontractors. So now, in the case of foreign companies that will establish a new company in Cyprus, a new subsidiary in Cyprus, a corporate spin-off in Cyprus, we can fund the newly established company that will be registered in Cyprus.
Okay, is there a limit on the number of partners, participants on the Innovate call?
There is not a limit. However, as I mentioned, the partner organizations, their contribution is limited and for specific activities only. So the proposal could be submitted by the host organization only, but the host organization may be supported by a partner organization by one or more for the implementation of the experimental development activities. However, the main focus is the host organization. So the host organization should demonstrate that has the ability and the capacity to implement the project, and should be only supported in experimental development activities only by other organizations.
Next question is with regards to Innovate. Can't the R&D company be the host organization?
As I mentioned, the host organization should be any small, medium, or large enterprise that is already engaged in commercial activities and has turnover and products in the market, products and services in the market.
With regards to the pre-seed program, involvement of foreign organizations is not allowed, but is it acceptable to show that a foreign organization is interested in our project and would like to test the prototype once it's developed?
Yes, you can write this in your proposal in the part B. You can mention this kind of issues in the part B.
Okay, now about the seed program. Can a startup with prototype but no company yet be eligible? Can the company be formed prior to or as part of seed, or does it have to be pre-seed if they don't have a company?
No, this applies only to the pre-seed program.
Okay, so for pre-seed and seed, just to confirm, a Cyprus company is required, registered over 5 years ago, correct?
Less than 5 years ago.
Less than 5 years ago. Should the company have been trading in those 5 years, or is a shelf company acceptable?
In general, for these programs for startup companies, we do not expect that these companies are already engaged in commercial activities. The main difference is that pre-seed is for companies that their idea is still in the idea phase, and for the seed program is that it's addressed for companies that they have a mature technology close to prototype.
We have some repetition here with regards to Innovate. There's a question whether the host must be an SME. Marinos just mentioned what type of a company it could be.
Small, medium, or large.
Exactly. A university can participate with a maximum 30% of the budget.
Yes.
That's the question. Yes. The SME will be eligible for 50% of the cost, but the university will be funded 100% for its eligible costs.
No, all organizations will be funded. The funding intensity for organizations would be 50%, the maximum funding intensity. However, as you will see in when you complete the budget table, different activities may have different funding intensities. However, the overall funding intensity for the host organization as well as the participants should not be more than 50%.
Okay, concerning pre-seed, you mentioned that it needs to be close to prototype. What is the TRL level in pre-seed?
No, this is for seed. Pre-seed refers to companies that are still in the idea phase. For seed, we do not refer specifically to TRLs, but what we describe is close to TRL 6 and above. In the Innovate call, we specifically refer to the TRL scale, but in the seed call, we describe what we expect regarding the maturity of the technology, and it's without referring to the TRL scale, but it's close to TRL 6 and more practical.
Okay, next question is whether the guidelines document is in Greek.
Submission of proposals is done, and
it's in English.
Is in English, as well as the Part B document to be completed. So we have the work program document, προκήρυξη, both in Greek and English. We have the guide for evaluators in English only. The call documents are bilingual, English and Greek as well. And if I'm not mistaken, the guidelines for the registration is in Greek, but you may receive support from the support service if you have any inquiries.
Exactly. If at any point you have any questions and one of the documents is in Greek, feel free to either call us, call the support team on 22 25,000 or support@research.org.cy, as we've mentioned. So next question regarding pre-seed, can we use the overheads for starting the company procedures, so registration, creation, or is it necessary to be a priori in existence before contract signing?
In general, this is a general regulation for the Restart programs. In order to be eligible, all expenses should be occurred during the product duration. Okay.
Eligible costs with regards to experimental development. Is the cost for software as a service, software tools used for experimental development eligible? And if yes, under which category?
If you mean that you will purchase licenses to specific software that will be used for the development of your prototype, yes, this is eligible.
Okay, with regards to Innovate, at some point it was mentioned that maximum subsidy intensity is 50%. Does it increase by 15% in case of effective collaboration or scientific dissemination, as in previous calls?
No, this applies only to the experimental development. As I mentioned, there are different aid intensities for each category, but the 50% percentage refers to the overall budget, and it's a maximum. So at any case, you may exceed this percentage.
Could the final product be something theoretical as an outcome, like methodology, workflow, that has the potential to be patented, or must it be a service, either physical or software related?
For this program, we do not cover methods, innovative methods or methodologies. So it should be a service or a product that will have the potential to penetrate the international market.
Okay. In SEED, can a professor affiliated with a foreign university participate as external services for testing, validation, etc.?
Yes, provided that you will provide us with the relevant proofs during the examination of the expenses. And for external services, we require an agreement between the host organization and the person or the organization providing the services. An invoice payment, and the relevant deliverable regarding the outcome of the services to be acquired.
Okay, is there a limit in the age of the company that can apply to your programs, either dormant or active?
There is a limit only in pre-seed and seed, where the company should have been established in less than 5 years ago.
Could you please explain the payment methods? What percentage do you give in advance, and how fast should a company expect the next payments?
For the pre-seed program, the advance payment is up to 70% of the total project funding, and is dispersed at the contract signing. And the final amount, according to the eligible expenses, will be paid with the submission and examination of the final report and payment request at the end of the project. For pre-seed, for seed and innovate, we provide 40% of the budget as advance payment. And another 40% is provided upon the examination of the interim report and payment request, and the rest is at the end of the project. In the cases where, according to the financial viability check, the company is not in a position to handle this kind of amount, then it can be decided, it can be agreed to provide more regular and smaller installments.
Okay, next question is quite interesting. We get it quite often. Can we submit proposals under both the Innovate and SEED pre-seed programs based on the same idea, proposal, and then choose which project to participate with accordingly?
As it has been described, that the targets and aims of each programs are specific. So I do not see, an obvious reason why to submit a proposal in different calls. For example, if you are a startup company at the idea phase, you go for the seed. If you are a startup company with a mature, technologically mature idea, you go for if you are at the idea phase, you go for the pre-seed. Yeah. If you are a startup company with a technologically mature idea, you go for the seed. If you are a company that is already engaged in commercial activities with a mature, with a technologically mature idea, you go for the innovate. So I cannot see an obvious reason to submit different proposals in different calls.
Exactly. So pre-seed, can we apply for something that is close to MVP stage?
No. That means that you have a technologically mature product. So it's more appropriate to submit in seed.
Okay, so okay, receiving. Okay, it concerns an idea that, oh, I'm guessing it's a follow-up question from the one we had on from the person who said that they're considering submitting in different programs. It concerns an idea that can work both ways. Is it forbidden to submit such a proposal?
It is not forbidden, but as I mentioned, each program has specific targets. I don't know if this will affect the evaluation procedure as well. For example, you may I'm not sure, but
for example, for Innovate, if you're a startup, it will be very hard to justify, for example, that you know, you are eligible for this, as you won't be able to show what you need to show as an established company that has products in the market. So if you're a startup in Innovate, you would not really be able to justify in your proposal why you should get the funding over another company. So again, please have a look at the objectives of each call. They are very specific. So even between pre-seed and seed, it should be clear to you which program to go for. So if you're a startup, it's not a case of I could choose any of the two. No, they're very specific. So if it's just an idea, you've just created your startup, you have a team, you know, go for pre-seed. If it's more mature, as Marino said, you know, then you should go for seed. An effort that we've made is to make the calls as clear as possible to avoid any questions asked to which call a company should choose. So please, again, you know, go through the calls, look at the objectives and submit accordingly. Okay, so I think we've answered that. Is there a criterion that excludes any industries?
No, these are open to any areas.
The close to MVP relating to seed rather than pre-seed is new information. I thought for seed, you needed to have an MVP in place. We'll start on MVP development in the next few months and have it completed, estimated in June. Is this a seed application? Is Annex B for seed completely different than pre-seed?
It is very similar. Let's start with the second section of the question. Part B is very similar, but it's different, but it's very similar. So I don't think that you will spend a lot of time, you know, to move your data from the one document to the other. So regarding the close to MVP, it's definitely is not a pre-seed. Okay, so you should go with seed.
Okay, so we've answered that. For pre-seed, does the person from the partner organization have to upload his CV on the IRIS portal, or is this only for key personnel of the host organization? So the first part of the question.
It depends on the partner organization involvement. So if you think there is a key person that will support the host organization in their activities, then you may submit it.
Okay, but the proposal, the CVs that are included in the proposal are submitted once by the coordinator, just to make sure this is clear. Is it possible for the partner organization to apply for the UNIC on IRIS portal before or at the same time as the host organization, given that it could take up to 15 days?
All organizations to be included in a proposal should be registered in advance before the proposal submission deadline.
Is it mandatory to form a consortium, or can the startup company submit a proposal by itself?
The startup can submit a proposal by itself. It's not mandatory to form a consortium.
Okay, I think we have answered all questions, unless we'll give a couple more seconds to see if any additional questions come through. I mean, as Marinos mentioned, go through the documents. I think all of them are available in English. Go through them. If you have a specific question, as we've said, go through the support team, and they will try and guide you through the procedure, and make sure that everything is clear in your mind before submitting a proposal. I don't think we have any more questions coming in, so let me thank you for being here with us today. It's a great pleasure to be able to interact with you even in this way, given the circumstances with COVID. At the end of the session, a survey will pop up on your screen. Please spend a couple of minutes to give us some feedback so we can improve future webinars. Thank you, Marino, for the presentation and for responding to the questions. And I hope you all have a nice day.
Thank you very much for listening. As Litsa mentioned, you may contact the support service for any inquiries. And in case of specific questions, the support service may signpost you to the appropriate staff in the RIF in order to receive specialized support. So thank you again, and have a nice day.
Bye, everyone.